All right, so this is the team demo video submission for Group 7. We are focusing on a library for our database project, and we believe that a library is an effective medium to have a database for, because a library needs to keep track of its books, book genres, members, checked out books, its employees, any late fees and due dates, and things of that nature. To start off with, here is the schema for the library. The library, of course, has a library ID. It has the number of aisles in that library, the number of books currently in the library, as well as the maximum book count that the library can hold. Now, a library has many employees and many members. To start off with, each member of the library has a member ID to uniquely identify that member. Each member has a number of checked out books that they currently have in their possession. Each member has a last name and first name that is marked down. Each member has the amount due, which they can accrue from not turning in their books on time, so the late fee can add up over time. And each member has a maximum number of books that they can check out, as well as a library ID that each member is linked to. Likewise, for the employee, there's also a unique ID for the employee, number checked out for the employee, last name, first name, as well as late fees also for the employees when they check out books. Each employee has a job ID indicating what job or role they have in the library. So the job, each job has a unique ID as well as a compensation for that job and a short description of what that job entails, whether it be manager, bookkeeper, library clerk, and so on and so forth. Each employee and each member can both check out many books. So each book has a book ID, title, genre, author, publication date, publisher, a unique ISBN for each type of book, and a book due date. The book due date portion can be null. That is in case that a book is not checked out, so the field will be seen as null. And each book can be either tied to a member, an employee, or an employee, and each book is tied to an aisle. Now, finally, each aisle contains many books, rather. So we also have aisles as an entity in our schema for the library. The aisle has an aisle ID. It has a number of books in the aisle. It has the aisle genre. Each aisle has a specific genre. And each aisle can hold a maximum number of books.
So we have some queries to test out our SQL database. And so this first one right here that we have is just a simple one to test, or not to test, but to give back, all our books that are being checked out right now and what aisles they belong to. They don't give any member information or anything like that. It's just a very simple query to test, where all the checked out books and where they belong and their due dates. But if we wanted something a little more specific, then we can do that with this next query that we wrote up, which is a query with two subqueries that gives you a very specific thing. It gives you the book, the member, and the aisle, right? So if I wanted, this test for books that have a due date that are from aisle 100 from members, right? It's extremely specific, but if you wanted that, you could definitely get that from here. And so the next thing we have to show you is our views, which is, here's the code for it, but of course we already have it in here. And this just gives you all the members and all their checked out books. So if we can pull that up real quick, this view just shows you every single book and member who's checked it out. And so you can use this in our next query that we have, which is, again, just a very simple one to show that, you could use it, which shows, every book whose, due date has passed by the 26th of April, something very simple like that. And that's just some basic queries that show you that you could use this in a library, in these kinds of ways. And so that's what we had to show you.
Hello, I'm Kimberly Flores, and I'll be demonstrating the stored procedures and triggers that we have on our schema. So this is our trigger that we have. It's called update aisle, and what it'll do is when a new book is added to an aisle, it'll update the number of books for that aisle. So let's go ahead and create it. Alright, so let's take a look at aisle right now. Right now it has 25 books, but with the test query that I'm going to put in, it should update to 26 books. And yeah, these are the number of books in here. You can see that the book I'm going to add is not in here yet. Alright, so here is my test query. So it inserts this book into the children's literature section into aisle 101. Let's go ahead and execute it. Alright, so let me go ahead and reload the book and aisle tables. Right. So you can see here the book was added right here. And in aisle, you can see that aisle 101 was updated to have 26 books. Alright, so now let's take a look at our stored procedures. So our procedure is called books checked out. Pretty self-explanatory. So what it'll do is it'll count the number of books that are currently checked out for the entire library. The way that we do that is we just count the number of books that have a due date, because if they don't have a due date, that means they aren't checked out by anyone. So let's go ahead and execute this. So you can see that the number of books that are checked out are 84.
I think some things that I learned were some practical applications of SQL and how it can be used in like a real world situation.
Some things that I learned were, to begin with, I didn't know databases was related to computer science. As well, I acquired knowledge from the principal database management.
Some things that I learned were how to create a better ERD, and I learned more about how to create relationships between tables and what is efficient and what is not efficient.
So one of the things that struck me in this class was the progression of data collection and data entry over the decades. And as I was putting in data into the table for our project, it really struck me exactly how important it is to manage data in a way that it's easily accessible and usable.